The first thing you're going to want to do is create a folder for your entire project. I've done so here and called it example project. And if you go into that folder, you should place all your subfolders. If you're going to be applying any sounds within the project, then you need to specifically create a folder called sounds and put all of your sound files in that one folder. And then for your images, which will be things like body parts or any frame, any bit of art you're going to be using to create the animation frames, need to be in subfolders. They cannot be directly in the main folder. So create subfolders for all of your image, and you want to keep this nice and organized, especially if you're going to be using something called character maps later on in the project, which is quite likely depending on the style of game you're working on. In general, at the very least, per character or per object, you probably want a folder. But if you're going to be doing things like creating variations of a character, or if your character can get power-ups and things of that sort, any type of body part that will be affected with a power-up, such as a sword, if there's going to be different types of swords, you're going to want to create a different folder per sword type. Same thing with heads. If the character is going to be able to get different helmets, then what you want to do is create a different folder per helmet type or per head type. And eventually you're going to want to, when you're creating your images, make sure the images have the same exact name. For instance, if I have an image called Sword 1 in the Sword folder, I want in the other folders with different looking swords, I want the same exact named images. I'll explain more of that later. I hope that makes some sense for now. But anyway, if you want sounds, you need a folder. For next thing you're going to want to do is load up Spriter. And you're going to choose Create New Project. And I already had a project going for the other videos, but I want to start from scratch for this, so I'm going to be, I'll type from scratch, click Save, and Spriter loads up. Here are all of your folders, and picking one will give you the images in that folder. And you can get started. The first thing you might want to do for the sake of being organized is to rename some of these default things. For instance, first character is the default name when you create a project of the first character. But you can go into character, rename character, and we'll call it player, for instance. There we go, player, first animation. You can rename that later, but let's say we're going to work on the idle animation. Click on change the name to idle, click done, and first frame, we'll name that to idle 0. Okay, so we're a bit more organized. You select the first frame that you want to edit, and you just click on left click on an image to select it, and then when you go over into the frame preview area, you will see that you do indeed have that image selected, and when you click again, it will place that image into your frame preview. And you can just click on it anytime you want to, drag it and move it around or make modifications to it. And then if you click anywhere else on the preview window, you'll deselect that image. So I'm just going to leave that roughly there for now and start to place other images. And any new image you place is going to be on top of everything else. If you need to change the Z order of a particular image, you select it either in the frame preview or in the list, and then hold Control and press the down arrow, as you can see, or up arrow. So as you can see, it was on top. I held Control and pressed the down arrow, and it went beneath the chest image. But I want it above, so I'm going to hold Control again and press the up arrow, and that brings it back above. Things will eventually get very tricky when you have lots and lots of little images here, so get used to selecting an image from the list or multiple images at a time from the list. You can also hold down the right mouse button and drag to create a selection rectangle that will allow you to easily select multiple things that are near each other. in the frame preview. So that's the basics of creating an actual frame with images. So if you click on the middle mouse button and hold it down, you can scroll around to give yourself more room. You can use the roller mouse button, to zoom in and out if you need to. And you can, when selecting a specific single image, by default the part info box opens up where you can apply flips, change the angle with these buttons here, or by typing in a number I'll bring it back to 0 that way. You can change the opacity of each image, adjust the width, the height. These buttons here are for changing both the width and the height at the same time, keep the same aspect ratio. And to get back to the original width and height, you have these buttons here. And you can change the drawing mode if you're doing special effects within that frame. Those might be handy. And that's it for that. I highly recommend getting used to the shortcut keys. For now, they are stuck as default settings. Let me explain to you what they are for image manipulation. First, let me turn off the info box since I'm going to be using shortcut keys. And now you'll see when I select a single image, that box does not pop up. Okay, so when you have a single or even multiple images selected, the W, S, A, and D keys will allow you to move the selected images around. If you hold Shift and press the W, S, A, or D keys, you'll be able to change the scale of all of those things that you have selected at the same time. And X will flip on the X axis, Y will flip on the Y axis, and R will rotate in 90-degree increments.